I would now like to introduce our guest speaker for this afternoon. Anne Connolly began her career in 1975 as a secondary school teacher. She progressed to vice principal after 6 years. From there she moved to the Curriculum Advisory Service. Between 1983 to 89, she was a lecturer at the University of Ulster and has taught on the professional qualification for head teachers with the Regional Training Unit. In 2009, Anne Connolly was appointed Director of Planning and Performance with Libraries in Northern Ireland. And then in May 2013, was elected as the Chair of the Policing Board. She was re-elected as Chair in July of this year. Mrs. Connolly, you are very welcome to Bangor Academy.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Pitts, fellow guests, staff, parents and pupils, thank you for a very warm welcome this afternoon. It really is a privilege to be invited to join you on this very important event in your school calendar. And I would like to pay tribute to Mr. Pitts and his staff for the excellent work they are doing at Bangor Academy, as we have seen. I also could not fail to be impressed by this wonderful, wonderful building. So well done to everyone who has had any say in getting this building up and running. It's absolutely beautiful, and it really does provide a wonderful learning environment for the young people. Teaching is not an easy job, as I know only too well. I'm a wee bit disappointed to give my age away. I was going to say it was 20 years ago when I started teaching, but actually it's 40. And it just seems like yesterday. But many of the parents here this afternoon will agree that coping with one or two young people is difficult enough. But imagine having the responsibility for hundreds on a daily basis. What challenge does that present? And yet the Bangor Academy staff seem to do so well, and they deserve credit for their dedication and commitment to their pupils. I would also like to congratulate the parents who are here. It is the most difficult job in the world, being a parent, and probably the one job that no one ever really prepares you for. And you will all remember Tony Blair, the Prime Minister. He once said, it's easier to be the Prime Minister than to be a parent. But I would leave that up to you as to which job you think he's done the best. And I know as parents you want the best for your children. And I'm sure that you're very proud of them and their achievements today. Weren't they just wonderful coming up? I couldn't stop smiling at them. I never saw such a large number of wonderful young people smiling and enthusiastic, and it's just cheered me up much better than going to the policing board, I assure you. But I'm sure sometimes, like all parents, you may have some difficulty getting your child up in the morning. And there was one such woman who had a bit of a problem with her son this morning. And she was shouting and shouting, Malcolm, get up, get up. It's time for you to go to school. And Malcolm said, I don't want to go to school. He said, I don't want to go to school, particularly today. It's prize day. And she said, Malcolm, get up. After all, you are the headmaster. You have to be there. Sorry. It's not often that I'm in a school these days. And I'm sure there's, for some of you, you wish that was true for you too. Because we can't say that everybody enjoys school, although I think it would be very hard not to enjoy it if you were here. I'm told that the old building that was used in Bangor previously for the boys and girls schools were not quite up to these modern standards, so you have a lot to be thankful for. As you know, before I came as chair, I was a teacher for many years, and I have really happy memories of those days, and today has brought back many of those memories. I used to be the person standing, making sure I got the right cup to give out to the right pupil. I remember when I started teaching, I was given what was called a temporary classroom. This was a rather scruffy wooden hut located in the school car park, because my school was also awaiting a new building. And I'm sure some of the teachers here have fond recollections of teaching in their wooden huts. But my main memory of my hut was the day that I set fire to it, accidentally during a class when I was doing a demonstration using a hot metal tray. I seem to remember the students thought this was hilarious, and they actually colluded with me in moving the furniture to try and hide the badly scorched floor. However, the head did find out, they usually do, and actually it turned out that he was probably secretly amused that someone was really trying to interest the pupils. So I was moved inside to the school to a much nicer room, beautiful classroom. I'm not quite sure to this day if that was as a reward or whether the head just wanted to keep me a little bit closer to him. But when I was at school myself as a pupil, I didn't really like it. And it was not because of the school or the teachers. It was simply that I was restless and keen to get out into the world. And I say this because I can understand that some of you may at times wonder what being at school is all about. It's very easy for us as adults to say to you they're the best days of your life. But when you're a young person, there's so many other attractions. School isn't always the first choice. There might be many things you would prefer to be doing rather than being at school. And sometimes it is difficult to see the point of all those lessons when there are so many other attractions out there. But however, being in school will pay off. In fact, for all of you here, it already has. Today you have received an award. Some of you have received numerous awards, and I hope there will be many more in the future, particularly for those of you who are just starting out in Bangor Academy. My father died when I was very young. I was just 14. And that really did affect me quite a lot. I was a middle child, 2 older children were going off to get married, and so I became the eldest by default. And everybody seemed to have time for the 2 nice little ones. But as a 14-year-old, clumsy sort of being, I felt neglected. And I was sad and lonely, and I imagined that everybody was out in the world having a great old time, and I just wanted to do that too. And I wanted to go out and earn some money and buy all the nice things that my mother couldn't afford. School was not an attractive option for me, and I'd have to say I wasn't the best pupil at times. But I had a very strong mother who insisted that I remain at school. And of course I know now how lucky I was to have such wonderful teachers who encouraged me to keep going and who actually put up with me. I didn't burn the classroom floor in my first school, but I did do some things that probably weren't very good. I'm now so grateful to my mother and to those teachers for helping me to appreciate the value of getting a good education. Many of you already know that, and we've seen young people come up here who have moved on to other academic institutions or to universities, and people who've gone into the world of a career. But for those of you who are maybe not quite convinced, I bet you will look back someday and feel the very same thing about the teachers in this school as I feel about the teachers who helped me and encouraged me. A good education is vitally important because it gives you the freedom to become whatever you want to be. Ironically, without an education, you're not free at all. We think we'll be free if we can go out of school. Think of all the countries in the world where education is denied to people, and that's a government's way of keeping people down. Educated people can never be enslaved, so it is important that you take your education as far as you can. I always wanted to become a teacher, a bit rich for somebody who never really liked school, but I did want to become a teacher, and my experience as a young person led me to want to teach in a secondary school. I felt no one understood me when I was growing up, and I wanted to be able to help as many young people as I could, and teaching provided me with that wonderful opportunity. I'm so glad that I did remain at school, and that I did get O-levels and A-levels, though I could have had more. That meant I could go on to university and fulfill my lifelong ambition to be a teacher. But my education didn't stop there, as indeed the education of many of your teachers doesn't. In my first year of teaching, I was very concerned about the high number of young people for whom reading was a struggle. And it really was a delight for me to see how people in this school who find reading difficult are being supported and helped. Because the one thing you will find very difficult in life is if you're not able to read. It's just an essential. So as a young teacher, I decided I was going to study further and get a diploma in reading studies to help me to understand why were these bright young people not being able to learn to read. And I established a reading unit to help with those young people. And it became very popular even with people who could read, but that wasn't a problem. As you heard, I became deputy head of the school after 6 years, and eventually I moved in to the advisory service, which was working with teachers then into more to the adult education. But taking opportunities to go further with my education enabled me to move into other areas of work, including working as a director, and as you heard, in my role helping to establish the new library authority. And I'm one of those people who likes change. I didn't want to be it, although I loved teaching, and I was in the school for 14 years. I never really had the same job for 2 or 3 years. I kept seeing other things that I wanted to do in that school. So change suited me to move on. But I would have to say that the day that I went back to my school to say goodbye, and I knew that I was leaving, not to come back, I found that very hard. But it was a new chapter in my life, and I found working with the teachers equally challenging and rewarding. But also, all of these things have led me to becoming a chair, because we have people in all walks of life who don't allow me to be called a chairman. I don't really mind what I'm called, but people talk about the chair and the chairperson. But my husband's friends are highly amused that he's married to a chair. And they love asking, how is the chair? And where is the chair today? And actually, being a chair has brought its own rewards. Because I have been to Buckingham Palace, this is my boasting bit now. I've been to Windsor Castle and the White House. Not the one in Portrush, although I have been there, but also to the one in Washington. And I have been personally introduced to the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh, and President Obama. So I have had a very fortunate, lucky life. And if I had stopped education at 14, who knows what would have happened. But I have taken the opportunities and used them to my advantage. You are very lucky to be at this stage in your education, because it's not too late to grasp those opportunities that are available to help you to do what you want to do in life. And don't be too worried if you're not entirely sure, because not everybody is sure. And it doesn't matter, because this is the time to lay down the foundations for your future. And the more qualifications or achievements you can get, the more chances and opportunities will be there for you. You may not know yet what you want to do in life, but it is important that you do as well as you can now, so that you're ready to move into the next phase of life, whatever that will be. For some of you it will be university, for some of you it will be an apprenticeship, for some of you it will be work. It doesn't matter, just be ready. On the occasion of this Prize Day, you can see the latest results of the hard work which has taken you so far. And it is great to see that so many young people have grasped the opportunities at this school, because my goodness, they are numerous. You are to be congratulated, and I urge you to keep on this very positive journey. About 5 years ago, I went to a school reunion at the school where I had taught, and it was great to meet up with many of my former pupils. Many of them, hazy to have, are now in their 40s or 50s. But I should say that my school was closing as part of a reorganisation to become a beautiful academy like yours. And it wasn't just because I had been a teacher there and on the floor. It really needed a new school, and I'm sure Mr. Fitch, you're delighted that I wasn't on your staff. You'd be very worried about your floors. But most of the pupils that I met agreed that the education they received in their old school had set them up for life. And it was great to meet even those who had not quite been the best students, because many of them had gone on to make a success of their lives. They hadn't listened when they were in school, but they had realised, not too late in life, of the need to take control of their lives and to take charge of their future. So I'm very, very proud of them, as I know the teachers and parents here today are of you. And I'm pleased that in some small way I was able to make a contribution towards helping these people become the young people, or slightly older people, that they are today. I'm going to finish with a little bit of advice for you, the kind of advice which I gave to those young people way back 40 years ago, but also advice which I try to follow myself, and I'm going to call it the Bangor Challenge. Now, it's a little bit like the Ice Bucket Challenge. It does demand a wee bit of steeling yourself and putting up a bit of discomfort. Unlike the Ice Bucket Challenge, it's for life. And the reason I call it the Bangor Challenge is, I'm just taking a letter from Bangor. You'll be glad you don't live in Ballynahinch. But Bangor, very easy. Believe. And the first thing I say is, believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to. So believe in yourself. There is a talent of some sort in there. We're not all good at everything, but everybody was good at something. And I was going to say self-belief, and when I was waiting in the room to come in here, I noticed on the wall a chart which said, the secret of top schools is self-belief. And there you have it, that is true. Believing in yourself. Young Samantha failed 11 plus. I don't think she failed anything. She's a marvellous young person, and reminded me of many of the young people that I met on my first day of teaching who were distraught because they'd been passed off as failures when they were anything but. So she believed in herself. Believe in yourself. Be the very best person you can be. And it doesn't matter whether you're a beautician, an electrician, a teacher. Do your job to the best of your ability. It's all about having a positive image and a good outlook in life. My second word from Bangor begins with A, obviously, and it's ambition. Now there's a word you don't hear very often in Northern Ireland. If it is, it's always used in a kind of a negative sense. There she goes. Who does she think she is? Look at her. You know, awful negativity that we get. Let me tell you, it is essential, absolutely essential, and very healthy to be ambitious. People without ambition lack direction. They have no goal in life and they start to drift. So don't let anybody tell you not to be ambitious. Be ambitious. And that leads me to my N, which is about negativity and negative people. The people who gurn and moan all the time, and no matter what you say, they try to tell you it's not the right thing. Don't surround yourself with those people. Don't have anything to do with people who are negative or want you to turn away from what is good. There is absolutely no shame in wanting to do well. There's no shame in aiming as high as possible. And that will mean different things to different people. Thankfully, we can't all be the same, and we're not. Ambition isn't, of course, about the impossible. I mean, we're not all going to appear on X Factor and do well. So ambition has to have a little bit of realism in it. But it is about having your eyes on the hills and your feet on the ground. And that is very important. And within that, not forgetting who you are, where you're coming from. Not allowing people who are negative to tell you that you shouldn't have ambition. Unfortunately, you will meet people who will try to involve you in areas of crime and all kinds of things. And I couldn't come away from the policing board and not say something about that. Because I did teach young people who unfortunately got caught up in things that they shouldn't have done. Remember, a quick fix or a quick money is not the way to lead your life. Work hard and get the reward and the pride of knowing that you've achieved something for yourself. That leads me to G, which is goal. Not of the Beckham or Rooney variety, although I see we had a few good footballers up here, but a personal goal. Because if you have ambition, you have to know what it is you're aiming for. Your goal may be to get a place on a team. It may be to take part in a competition or to follow a certain career path. But having a goal will help you to steer yourself in the right direction. O is for opportunity. And again, the word opportunity came up in nearly every single sentence today, because what opportunities are there in this school? I can't think of anything that you couldn't do if you were at this school. A school which caters for all abilities and all talents. What a wonderful opportunity for you. And the school aim, I note, to encourage every pupil to take advantage of the opportunities available. Please do, because even when you leave school and go out and you can take up opportunities, you will never ever again have the nurturing environment that you have here. You're safe in school. Most of you probably don't want to be, you'd rather be a wee bit more independent. But when you leave school, you will not have that support. Because when you move on to FE, when you move on to university, you're expected to do a lot on your own. So take advantage of the support and the help that you will get. And take what is on offer for you. And there must surely be something in this school for everybody. That leads me to R, which is responsibility. Because you have to learn to take responsibility for your own actions. And today we live in a blame culture. It's always somebody else's fault. I have never done anything wrong, it's always somebody else's fault. And we're very good about rights, but not about responsibilities. And I'll just tell a little story about a poor child. My sister taught P1s, and she had a little boy who came in one day, and he was a bit nervous and anxious, just starting school. You're nervous and anxious. You started here, and this was a little P1 boy. And before he got home, he had a little bit of an accident. He didn't manage to get out. He didn't ask to get out to go to the toilet. And he went home very upset and distressed. And his mother said, "What on earth happened to you, Jonathan?" "What happened?" He said, "Mummy, it wasn't me. A big boy did it and ran away." And I thought, that is stretching the imagination just a little bit far. But how many times do we blame the big boy for doing it and running away, when it's our fault? So let's take responsibility for our own actions. I was reminded of how, what a responsibility it is when you learn to drive. And I have to be careful on the road too, because I like cars, and I like fast cars. I have to watch and be careful about my speeding, because I certainly can't get points. But my heart went out to, there's a young man just 2 weeks ago who was jailed for causing an accident and was driving very young, 17. 5 of his friends were in the car, killed, and somebody coming in the opposite direction. And he had just been speeding. Probably peer pressure. But he can't blame those people, and he has the rest of his life to live with that. So I just urge you to remember that with those rights and opportunities come responsibilities that you have to face up to, and that isn't easy for any of us. On that note, I must remember my responsibility to ensure that you do get out of here before Christmas and that you do get a cup of tea. So I'm going to finish with a very special wish for all of you. I hope that you will stay healthy and be happy. And I hope that in 10 or 20 years, many of you will be back here on the stage telling the Bangor Academy pupils how well you've done with your lives and how much the teachers in Bangor Academy contributed to that. Thank you all very much for your time and attention, and a very Merry Christmas to all of you.
On behalf of the whole Bangor Academy and College, thank you for attending this afternoon's event and making it very special. As a token of our appreciation, we'd like to present you and your husband this small gift. Yes, this concludes this part of our prize giving, but we'd like to invite you all to join us for afternoon tea in the canteen behind the hall. We'd like to thank you all for coming out this afternoon, and we wish you a safe journey home. May I now ask you to stand?